Hello, my friend. I am so excited to dive into this week's podcast episode for you on this week's astrology. Oh my goodness, this is going to be quite an interesting week. We have Uranus moving into the sign of Gemini this week. We also have a powerful full moon in Capricorn. I'll be diving deep into the full moon in Capricorn chart for you in this week's episode. I am also going to be sharing how your family patterns, relationship patterns, and career patterns are all connected in your birth chart. I will then end off this podcast episode with a tarot reading of what energy to embrace, what energy to let go of. So let's just dive right into it. Starting off with July 7th, Uranus moves into the sign of Gemini. If you missed last week's episode, go watch that first because I dive really deep into this transit because it's going to be affecting you till 2033, which is quite a long time. I also shared your Uranus and Gemini horoscopes on the VIP membership, so you can go listen to yours, listen to your rising sign first, and those are super juicy. Now, just a quick overview of what we chatted about last week. Uranus is the planet of innovation, unexpected insight, change. It really is going to shake things up for you wherever Uranus is going to move into your chart. So check the house Gemini rules in your chart because that's going to be really crucial to this energy for you. Uranus in Gemini, however, is really interesting because it's going to really shake things up for us when it comes to our communication, how we connect to our community, how we are connecting to our partnerships, may they be friendships, may they be just having a sounding board, what that looks like for us. This is going to stir things up for us in a huge way. I did chat a little bit about the fear that can come up with Uranus in Gemini, especially around World War III talks, because the last time Uranus was in Gemini was during World War II. It's important to note the dark side of this energy, which is creating this divide with other people. May this be people in your community, may this be other communities, may this be just othering the other person. Take note of this. There are still some amazing things that happened the last time Uranus was in Gemini, which was the founding of the United Nations, which was very needed and really helped us unite different countries together to understand what rules and regulations are needed to protect our Earth and society in general. Again, go watch the previous podcast episode because I dive really deep into this in last week's episode. Now, on the same day, on July 7th, we have Venus in Gemini trine Pluto in Aquarius. This is quite lovely. This is beautiful energy. This is us really connecting to our friendships, our community. We're trying to really discover what we value when it comes to our connections. How are you prioritizing the people you connect with? This is an energy of transforming those connections. Maybe you're starting to see, okay, how can I show up better for my community? What do I need to change based on my values? What does this look like? Maybe this is you attending a protest for a free Palestine. Maybe this is you attending a protest for human rights. Maybe this is you discovering, actually, I want to prioritize the friends that really prioritize me and invite them all into this lovely dinner where we get to chat and connect in a deeper way. I love this energy. This is a very supportive energy where you're starting to see the values that you have based on your connections, based on your communication, and what needs to transform and evolve in terms of this. I will also say with this transit, this might be a day where you talk with your friends or community around your finances. Maybe you're chatting about what you want to prioritize in terms of your spending and how this might differ from a friend, but you're coming at it in a really supportive way. This could also look like if you're dating someone new, this feels as though you're having a really good conversation and it's helping you see and connect with that person in more of this friendship vibe that really helps you in terms of understanding where they're coming from. Maybe you're having a deep conversation around friendships or community, or you're trying to see how you both connect in terms of your values in a deeper way. Now on July 10th, we have a powerful full moon in Capricorn. This full moon is taking place at 4:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 18 degrees of Capricorn. Now, what's really important to note, this is going to be a bit of a shocking full moon in Capricorn. I'm just going to put that out there. Expect the unexpected. We have the ruler of this full moon Capricorn being Saturn in Aries at 1 degree. Now, luckily, Saturn in Aries is in a really supportive aspect to Pluto in Aquarius. It's in a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, and it's also in a sextile to Uranus in Gemini. This is really supportive. This is us understanding that this full moon is really helping us understand more about the completion of some systems and structures when it comes to how you see yourself and your identity. This looks like maybe you've reached a certain goal and you're celebrating with either some friendships, with your community. Maybe you're talking more about what has come forth for you in the last 6 months. This looks like a very supportive personal development project for you has been really highlighted right now. So Saturn is, again, uncomfortable in the sign of Aries. It is in its fall in Aries, and this just means that it can be harder for us to set boundaries. It can be harder for us to understand where to draw the line in terms of our self-discipline, in terms of how we show up for ourselves, what that looks like for us. However, because of this support with Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius, this is really helping us in understanding more about who we are, who we want to become. Maybe you're realizing, okay, I need a coach to really help support me in terms of my business, in terms of my personal fitness. That's a huge possibility. And you're having more conversations around how you see your future self and how to get to that stage. Now, traditionally, the moon is very uncomfortable in the sign of Capricorn. So this is gonna feel a little bit awkward in terms of this full moon. Maybe you're feeling as though you can't fully express your emotion during this time. Emotions can be really heightened right now, but it could feel harder to fully cry things out. It could feel harder to fully express how you're feeling. This is because with the moon in Capricorn, you could feel like the default is to work harder instead of feel your feelings. Maybe you're realizing, okay, I need to get to this goal. I need to set this date for this. However, you're not giving yourself enough time to fully process what your body is feeling, what your nervous system is feeling. So it's really important to know this with this full moon in Capricorn, because you could just feel as though you want to produce, you want to work harder, you want to just focus on what is in the 3D reality. However, that's where people can get stuck. That's where you could feel like, okay, it's not showing up in the way you want. So take a step back and really make sure you're feeling your feelings, processing things, and resting when you need to. Remember, rest is productive. I really see this full moon as this crumbling of what is happening in society in terms of what needs to change. How are certain systems and structures in our countries, in our businesses, in our workplace, and what necessarily can we transform for a more futuristic society? What do we have to transform in terms of what's better for the people? These are some questions to ask during this time. Now, the reason why this full moon is a bit shocking is because Mars is in Virgo and it's squaring Venus in Gemini. This is honestly going to stir things up for you when it comes to your communication with another person. You could feel like someone comes out of left field for you and they say something and it has you reacting a certain way, or vice versa. Maybe someone comes out of the woodwork and they're reacting in a very unexpected way. Perhaps your values with a friend, with a sibling, with a community member, or just someone you know is vastly, vastly different than how you're acting and pursuing in terms of work or relationships. This can stir some feathers. So you could just feel like people are on edge, people are reacting quite poorly in terms of this. However, this is a very supportive energy for a breakthrough. This is a very supportive energy to realize, okay, what do I actually value when it comes to my friendships? What do I actually value when it comes to my communication? And how does this connect to my community? What does this look like to me? Now, because Mercury is in Leo, I will say some people's egos can flare up, and this can be expressed through communication. So I want you to take note of this and just realize, okay, is this actually something that is about me? Is this another person projecting onto me? This is a huge possibility. I also want to say that this full moon can bring things up when it comes to tradition and heritage and what your family expectations are. What does that look like for you? So this can come up during this time, and you could be having some conversations where you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I necessarily need to change when it comes to the legacy I want to leave behind? What does this look like for me? And how can you witness your own growth? How can you celebrate the structures and systems you set up for yourself? Are they working for you? I will say this full moon is really helping you realize your goals from the beginning of this year, especially around December 30th, 2024, ending off last year because that was when we had the new moon in Capricorn. So the intentions you set then are now coming into fruition. What did you want to happen for you this year? What still needs some time to flourish? These are some questions to ask yourself, yet I really think this full moon is actually very, very supportive. What I love about this full moon is we have the sun in Cancer in a trine to the North Node in Pisces. And this feels like you're connecting to something that is really fulfilling for you. You're starting to realign. So if you've been feeling off balance, if you've been feeling as though, okay, why am I feeling lost? Or why am I not seeing what my path forward is? I think you're going to get some really good intuitive hits on your next steps with this full moon in Capricorn. So I want you to write down your insights with this energy because full moons bring clarity. Full moons are super helpful for us to get more perspective. It is a closing of a chapter for you, especially when it comes to the systems and structures you've built for yourself and the systems and structures that society has put for you that maybe are no longer serving you, or the expectations your family has put on you that you no longer want to abide by, that you no longer want to prioritize. So this full moon can feel a little bit emotionally harsh, again, because the moon can feel uncomfortable in the sign of Capricorn. So this is still a great full moon. This is still a very productive full moon. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of work done. Yet I want you to keep in mind that you still need some time to rest and recharge. You still need some time to actually stay present in the moment and not just work through this full moon, which can essentially burn you out, especially with Mars in a square to Venus in Gemini. I will also mention, because Pluto is currently in a trine to Uranus in Gemini for this full moon. This is the first time we're experiencing Uranus in Gemini trine to Pluto in Aquarius this year. So this is a very interesting energy. I do think community is going to be a huge, huge highlight for you during this full moon. And you might get some opposing people in terms of people with other values or other ideas, yet ultimately there's a lot of support with this full moon to still come together, to still appreciate where someone is in their journey and appreciate your own journey in terms of this process, and know that it's okay to be different. I really, really think this full moon is going to bring a lot to the surface. And this is ultimately going to be very, very helpful for you building community, building systems and structures that are best for yourself and how you see yourself and your identity, especially with Saturn in Aries. If you want to manifest for this full moon in Capricorn, I have now decided to open the doors to the Moon Sign Creative Community for our manifestation events during full moons. So this is such a beautiful time if you want to manifest and set goals for the next 6 months. Honestly, the Moon Sign Creative Community is probably one of the best things I've created. It really gives a good space for everyone to come together who really value self-growth, community, creativity, human rights, and honestly just having your own magical practice to connect with others who really understand the deep healing work that you're doing and the deep healing work they're doing, and having a space for all of us to come together. People in the community have manifested dream homes, dream relationships, amazing trips, more clients, more sales, and amazing pets. It's honestly such a soulful place to connect with others who really value the same things as you. I am super, super excited for our full moon in Capricorn event. If you want to manifest with us, check out the link for that down below and join the waitlist, because I'll be leading you through a manifestation ritual to call in new energy, to first clear any baggage, any mental baggage, any spiritual baggage, any energetic baggage that has been weighing on you, so that you can clear your space and call in your manifestations. I am so excited for this. Honestly, I feel like I have one of the best communities out there. Everyone is so sweet, so kind, so empathetic. And I'm honestly so in awe by how much the community is connected. One of our members recently got married, and I saw one of her posts that so many of the community members commented on, and she just posted it. So it was so lovely to see and witness how much we were all celebrating her and this next chapter for her. So it was just such a beautiful thing to witness, because this is more than just doing manifestation rituals. This is more than just calling in that new energy, even though those are very important, very great, but it's also forming deeper connections with people that really understand you, who really want to support you. So the event is happening on Wednesday, July 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll leave a link to the waitlist down below. I'm so excited to manifest with you. We'll also be talking more about how this full moon is hitting your chart specifically. So if you want to learn more astrology, this is also a great way to do so. Now, to finish up this week, on July 13th, we have the Sun in Cancer trine the North Node in Pisces exactly this day. So I did speak about this in the full moon in Capricorn chart, yet this day in particular can feel very spiritual. It could feel like you're aligning to something that you're feeling intuitively called to do. I will say this really highlights your emotional processing. How are you taking care of yourself through any emotional turbulence? How are you connecting with, may this be a spiritual partnership? May this be a mental health advisor? Perhaps this is a day where you talk to your therapist, talk to your astrologer, talk to a tarot reader, and you're witnessing, okay, I need more support, I need more mentorship, or I need more guidance, or you're feeling really, really good about your next steps in terms of your spiritual practice. So I love this day for this. So sorry, my voice has cracked, but on the same day, we have Saturn going retrograde in the sign of Aries. This can be a day where you're trying to realize, okay, maybe I haven't been showing up for myself in the way I wish I was. You could make some harsh realizations around this. I will say this looks a bit like a reality check where you're starting to realize, okay, maybe I dropped the ball in terms of maybe working out for yourself, or showing up and hyping yourself up, or leading other people, what you said you wanted to do, what you said you wanted in terms of the goals you set out for yourself. So this is a day where you're coming to terms with this. Actually, you could take a step back and realize, I need to build better systems and structures for myself in the next few months. If you are a Capricorn rising or an Aquarius rising, take note of this day. Take note of what happens for you, because this will affect you more. This is because Saturn is your chart ruler. Now, those are the major transits of this week. If you got this far, please like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and also comment sunflowers, just so that I know that you got this far. I'd love to see it. I saw last week's episode and quite a few of you commented bananas, which I love. So thank you so much for that. It just helps me understand if you're loving these episodes and if I should continue forward with recording these podcast episodes for you. Now, in this week's topic, I want to dive deep into how your relationship patterns are connected to your family patterns, how your family patterns are connected to your career patterns, and how these are all intertwined in your birth chart. This is huge, okay? And I want to share a personal story with you because I think it gives it really good context as to why this can be life-changing to know. So for myself, this is always a really difficult week for me. I'm going to be really honest with this. It's because my father's birthday is on July 13th, and he passed away when I was 11. And his influence on me has been so big. Of course, he is my father. He has passed away. It's been over 20 years that I realized I will never see him again. And his death was very shocking to me. To put it into context, I really didn't believe that he was dead for quite a few years. It maybe took me, I want to say, at least 8 to 10 years to fully understand and grasp that he was no longer alive. So this week is always difficult for me because I am reminded that I don't get to experience a lot of life moments with him. I don't get to have him at my wedding when that does happen for me. I don't get to see him when I reach a big milestone in my life. I never had him at my graduations. And that hurt me really deeply. It really was something that was hard for me to emotionally go through. And, you know, it's still hard to grieve and to mourn. I am in a much better place now, and I do really appreciate that I got to spend quite a few years with him when he was still alive. He influenced me and my artwork in a huge way. And I see this in my birth chart through not only my Cancer moon, because although it's often described your moon sign as how you were nurtured and taken care of by your mother, he was a Cancer sun. He was very, very emotionally supportive of my dreams. And for myself, I also realize that with Chiron in my 10th house, I have witnessed how much this has to do with wounds around the father figure, especially with Chiron in Leo. This isn't for everyone, yet this can be a major theme if you have Chiron in Leo. Now, for me, this has greatly impacted my ability to be seen. It's something I've worked through. It's something that I continue to work through, and it's something that I have healed a lot in the last few years, and I'm helping my clients do the same. This is because with Chiron and Leo, you might have not felt seen for who you are as a kid. There might be something there where it was harder for you to fully express yourself because you didn't want to appear too much. You didn't want to appear as someone who was egotistical or cared so much about themselves. So you ventured off in the opposite direction. Now, with my 10th house stellium, I know this as an astrologer, that this means that my father is a huge, huge influence on my life. And when I look at my chart at this time, this has made me realize that my career is such an important part of my life. I really express myself a lot in terms of my career. You could see this with my moon in the 10th house. It's something that is deeply, deeply important to me, to express my emotions, to share my authenticity with the world, and what I have personally gone through to help more people do the same, to help you overcome any past hurt and pain, and help you see that it's so possible for you to reach your dreams, to understand how you can be seen deeply through astrology, and how this is so, so healing. I see this through my 10th house stellium, where I know I'm meant to do this work. I know that it's deeply connected to my father, because with the 10th house, I will say some astrologers will argue that the 10th house has themes around the father, yet I really do see this in quite a few of my clients' charts and also my own chart, that the father figure can be very, very important for you. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're present. It just means that they could be an important figure in some way. May this be inspiring you. May this be showing you what's possible. Now, this really shows me that my family patterns really have affected my career. There's still a lot I'm healing from in terms of being able to reach the stage I want in my career, and this is because this is still very new in terms of my birth chart. It looks like I am ending a cycle for my family line, especially in terms of codependency, especially in terms of what is expected of me in terms of my family. We see this with the South Node in Cancer and the North Node in Capricorn for me. This is a common theme of you trying to build something stable and grounded for yourself and letting go of codependency, especially around the family, with the South Node in Cancer. For myself, looking at my chart, I also see that I have Uranus, Neptune, and the North Node in Capricorn in my 4th house. This is very generational, so quite a few people have this. If you have Uranus in Capricorn, if you have Neptune in Capricorn, and the North Node in Capricorn, I will say quite a few people have this, and this can feel as though wherever that is placed in your chart, there's this confusing element. There's this mystical, spiritual element to it that is a bit shocking. You could have had some very intense experiences based on the house it's in, based on those themes of the house. So for me, having it in my 4th house of home, growing up, my life was very chaotic. I will say I was very depressed as a kid. My family life was very, very wounded, very intense, even before my father's death. I came from an immigrant family, so there was a lot of yelling in my house. There was a lot of chaos in my house. There was very unexpected things that were very confusing. And, you know, I never really shared this online, but I was just embarrassed, right, to come from a family that had so much anger, so much confusion, so much painful generational trauma that I felt restricted and lost and like I didn't belong in my family. I was constantly trying to find peace and hide. And this is where I start to see, okay, this had to happen for a reason. I came from this family for a reason. I had to break this cycle of going into relationships and really approaching them in a different way, with kindness, with empathy, not projecting onto another person. And I don't blame my family for this. I know there was just so much generational trauma that was happening, and yes, they didn't really fully process things. They're not really still working on that. However, it's what they grew up with. It's what they knew. So for me, it's accepting my family for who they are, realizing and setting boundaries based on this, what works for me. And I started to get really happy after I moved out of my mom's place. And I started to realize, okay, this is different. This is me understanding that I'm not a part of this world. I can choose my new path. I can choose to heal this generational trauma. And this ultimately will also affect your romantic relationships, your friendships, your business partnerships. So understanding where the trauma is in your birth chart can help you understand why certain things keep repeating for you, why you keep attracting certain romantic relationships. For myself, I've realized I'm a very intense person, yet it's very subtle in terms of that intensity. I realized that I've only dated Scorpios and they could handle my intensity to a certain degree, yet it also helped me understand how much healing work I still had to do for myself. So I was attracting these very intense spiritual relationships, and I realized the patterns I was getting myself into, thinking the other person needed to be my savior, thinking the other person was the key to my problems, was the key to my happiness. If I just focused all my energy on them, if I just put all my energy to helping them, then I will be happy. Then I will be okay. And it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. So for me, understanding that I have an Aries 7th house, just letting you know that you have no empty houses, reminding yourself of that. You have no empty houses. You have to check the ruler of that house and what is happening to that ruler to understand the major key points of that relationship, of those house themes. So for me, it was looking at my Mars in Virgo in my 12th house and how much I was attracting partners who were creative, mystical, but also the dark side with Mars and Virgo in the 12th house is self-sabotage. They were doubting themselves. They were pushing me away. They were in a place where they were overthinking so much that they wanted to sacrifice the relationship. That was the dark side of a lot of my relationships, right? So it's understanding what partner would be good for you based on not only the healing work you've done for yourself, but also the healing work of that person, because it's understanding the patterns in your birth chart, because that is a cheat sheet of your life, so that you can approach your romantic relationships, business partnerships, and friendships in a different way. And understanding how this connects to your career and family life can help you with processing, okay, this is what I'm meant to do this lifetime. This is what I want to focus my energy on. And this is a story or narrative I want to end, so that I can start a new timeline, so that I can start a new story that I much rather believe. So for myself, I was attracting romantic relationships where it was fun, it was really intense, it was honestly this dream that I was in, that I was intoxicated by. And it helped me realize so much of how I saw my mother and father through my partners, but also how this showed up in my birth chart and why I had to experience that to ultimately lead me back to more self-love for myself, ultimately lead me back to what I needed to learn from those experiences, so that I can approach my career in a different way, and I can approach my relationships in a different way. So I really hope this helped in terms of understanding the importance of why things are connected, why your romantic relationships are connected to your career, why this relates to your family patterns. I think for myself, it was also understanding that the reason why this all connects to my career is because I started to understand that I was seeking validation a lot from my family, especially at the beginning of my career. I'm still in this mentality where I still want my mom to be proud of me. I still want that validation, but it's coming back home to yourself and giving yourself that validation that is the most important thing you can do. And that is the power of astrology. That is the power of understanding your patterns, because then you start to realize, actually, I have everything I need within me. I have everything I need within me to build my career. I have everything I need within me to approach my relationships in a more loving, supportive way. I have everything I need within me to just show myself more love and compassion for what I've been through. And sometimes that is creating discipline for yourself and creating a commitment to yourself. So I hope this gives some good context as what you can look at in your birth chart. And if you want help with this, if you want to learn the skill of astrology to use for the rest of your life, to really dive deep into not only reading your own birth chart, but other people's birth charts, I have relaunched my Astrology Foundations course, Seen Secrets. This is such a life-changing course, because once you start to understand the foundations of reading a birth chart, understanding how everything is connected, how you connect the signs, the planets, the houses, the aspects together, but then also dignity and rulership, and why this is important in reading a birth chart. What are the ethics behind reading a birth chart? And why this skill set can change the rest of your life. I am super excited to relaunch the course. Students from the course have been reading other people's charts and have gotten some amazing reviews from them in terms of just telling them to get paid for the work they're doing, because they were just reading charts at parties and realizing, actually, I love doing this. I'm so good at this. And they have the confidence in reading other people's birth charts, so much so that those people are asking them to charge for their work, because they're that good at interpreting another person's birth chart. So if you want the skill set of astrology that you can use for the rest of your life, and you want my help and you want my support, then check out the link for that down below. The course is on sale for a limited time. It is a self-paced course, so you can get immediate access to it right away. And I am hosting a live Q&A for the course later this month on July 24th. So come join me if you want my help, if you want my support in pulling up your birth chart, and we can dive deeper into astrological techniques to really understand your birth chart in a completely new way. So I hope that helps, friend. Let's dive into your tarot reading for this week. The first card out is the Four of Cups. So I will say, you might feel a little bit disappointed by something this week. You could feel like you're not receiving what you want to receive. This can feel as though someone is handing you this opportunity, yet it's not necessarily the opportunity you wanted. However, I want to remind you that this man in this card is really ignoring the three cups that are in front of him. So how are you dismissing the current blessings you have? How are you dismissing the opportunities that have already come to you? So again, this could feel a bit frustrating, but this is also a card of understanding that sometimes it's about your perspective. Yes, maybe it is frustrating to not receive what you want to receive at a certain time period. I know I felt this frustration too, especially with last week's episode. Yet, I want to remind you that this is a card of understanding. How can you remind yourself that you already have everything you need? Remind yourself of this. The next card out is the Knight of Wands reverse. So I will say this feels like pent-up anger. You could feel as though you want to express yourself, you want to be creative, you want to travel somewhere, you want to do something, yet you're feeling restricted. You're feeling as though it's harder for you to fully express yourself. I will say, whatever you can do to nourish your creativity, to nourish your passion, maybe it's taking a walk and writing down your creative ideas with whatever comes up, or taking some time to do an artistic practice or project for you. That can help you so much right now. But releasing your anger in a healthy way this week can be so important to do, especially with Mars square to Venus this week. So I will say, if you can shake things out, dance things out, work out, do something that moves your body, that's going to help so much. The next card out is the Page of Wands. So this is a card of really nourishing your inner child this week. Do something fun. Do something that's flirty or just more adventurous, and listen to what your inner child really wants you to do this week. Have a bit more fun, have a bit more of this practice, and see, okay, what can I do to do things differently? What can I do to listen to my creativity and take inspired action? If you get an idea this week, follow through with that idea and take action on it right away. That is a message I'm really hearing for this week. The block this week is the Fool reverse. So you're feeling like you want this new beginning. You're feeling like, okay, why is this not happening for me? What is happening? Why can't I receive this new fresh beginning? And this is honestly very upsetting. This feels like, okay, I can't see this yet. However, this is a card to go within. This is a card to take a step back and realize, how can you have a internal new beginning? How can you create more peace within yourself? May this be meditating, may this be journaling, may this be really doing some hypnosis or overnight affirmations, or doing something that really nourishes your soul. How can you create that new beginning within yourself to allow yourself to experience that fully? So that's good to note this week. I asked for a clarifier on that, what would help us with this process, and we got the 10 of Cups reverse. So this is a week where you might need to change your expectations of what's possible for you in the future. You might get a realization this week that changes everything in terms of what you actually want in terms of your life. May this be a relationship, may this be the house you want, or may this be going to a certain country or moving or whatever that may be. I see this card as you letting go of the pressure of what society expects of you, letting go of the pressure of it has to look a certain way before I'm happy. It's a really big message. I am getting chills for that. So letting go of you can't be happy unless you get all these things, that is a myth. That is not true. Remind yourself of this. It's letting go that it has to look a certain way. Remind yourself of this. Your oracle cards are, it's okay to feel feelings. So if you're feeling emotional this week, just note that that's normal. Full moons can really heighten our emotions. Yes, I could feel a little bit blocked with the full moon in Capricorn. However, just remind yourself we're still in Cancer season. We're still receiving a lot in terms of emotional vulnerability from ourselves and others. So give yourself space to cry things out if you need to. That's good for you. Process it. You also got content with what I already have. So how can you focus and be grateful for what is currently in your life? That's going to attract more of that in. You also got it is within reach. So yes, even if things are taking longer, yes, even if it's frustrating and things are a bit more slow, just know it's really close. It is coming for you in the best possible way. Last card out is Emerge. So this is a week to really come into yourself, really stand up for what you believe in, really do what you want for yourself, not for other people, but how can you make yourself proud? I think that's a great reminder, a great thing to end off this reading. So I really hope this helped, friend. Let me know in the comments what resonated with you. And thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn astrology from me, check out my Astrology Foundations course, Seen Secrets. I'll leave a link to that down below. I'm so excited to relaunch this course. And if you want to join the new moon and full moon events with the Moon Sign Creative Community, I'll leave a waitlist for that down below for you. Hope to see you there. And thank you so much for watching. Just remember, the universe has your back, and with peace and love, take care.